We're back with another episode of Money Talks. Whatever the fuck this is, honestly. I thought it was going to be a podcast type of thing. It doesn't feel like a podcast type of thing. And I'm going to try to keep this one a little shorter, a little more, cut down. Maybe people don't want to fucking watch 30 minutes to an hour of some guy they don't fucking know talk online. I don't blame you. I'll try to keep it shorter, condense them a little bit, maybe, make these kind of like a flash podcast. Like, it's just fucking, we fucking talk about some shit for maybe like 10, 15 minutes, then get the fuck out. I feel like that would be a more easily digestible structure for all this shit. But, today, I just want to talk about faith, and why I'm faithful, how that happened, and everything, because I was not born into, my grandma was, and, I went to church with her, a lot, if not pretty much every weekend. And, so I think that was my first little introduction to faith, of course, and to Jesus and God and all that kind of stuff. And, at the time, you don't really understand it. I went to church just because I wanted a toy. If I went to church with my grandma, we go to Kmart afterwards. So that was pretty much the only fucking reason I wanted to go at the time. But I feel like that was a part of God's plan for me to get a little introduction, so that later in life I could make that decision myself as an adult to be like, that is what I believe in. That is what I believe. I feel like really I started my spiritual journey around maybe 18, 19. Kind of got into the whole, realm of like what is life, pretty much? What is life, and where do we come from, and why are we here, and where do we go? All the basic questions that everybody has at some point in their life. It's just natural. And around that time, I was talking with my mother a lot around that subject, and she's a very spiritual person as well. I don't think I'd ever say that she's a Christian, but she's very spiritual in her own way, and having talks with her kind of led me not towards Christianity, but towards, spirituality and understanding that and asking what that is and learning what that is for you and all that kind of stuff and what that means and what it looks like and blah, X, Y, and Z. Right, so I would have talks with her about it, and that was kind of what got my foot in the door of, like, spirituality stuff, like your astrology signs, and you're this and you're that, right? So all that kind of stuff, and I feel like that over time, I did feel something with that. So I think for a time I was doing that. Right, I was. That's what I was kind of on board with as well. And after a while, I think evolved into my own individual experiences and what I've been through and everything else compiled. My experience with going to church and meeting other people of faith, talking to other people of faith, talking to people of no faith, and just getting a gauge of everything, really, through my experiences. Honestly, I feel like, at the end of the day, I landed on Christianity or any kind of thing like that because I feel like I truly do feel it, like, in my heart. I know it feels cliche, it feels like, oh, of course you do. But genuinely, out of all the things that I've went on to believe and went on a journey to discover and to learn and to understand more, I think this was the one time that, like, actually starting to read the Bible a little bit, or at least just passages here and there, and now I'm doing it on a daily basis. Most of my fucking Facebook algorithm is just, Bible passages and a whole bunch of stuff, and I feel like I've gotten to that point through just, learning historical things. My My favorite argument, just to keep it basic, is like there. I believe that there is a fucking logical reason why we're in the year 2026 right now. The whole world. Now, not the whole world. There are some countries that, use their own calendar because they don't believe in Jesus. They don't believe in that kind of thing as much as maybe some other parts of the world. But I think it's safe to say a vast majority of the globe says that it is 2026. Why is it 2026? Well, 2026 years ago, Jesus came out of his tomb via resurrection. And I know he has all the people that don't believe and they don't, they haven't dove deep into that kind of stuff or whatever, but it's like, think about it. I'm not trying to push it on you. I'm just trying to show you this is my mindset. Just think about it. Right? There's a reason why everybody on the fucking planet agreed that something so fucking spectacular happened that basically the whole fucking planet agreed to restart. It's year one. It's year one because he's back, basically. And he is now showing us that he is our savior and he is here for us. And it showed that through dying on the cross, being placed in a tomb, and 3 days later coming out of that fucking tomb. And then the news spread across the whole world, and everybody was like, well, oh shit, like, it was, everybody fucking agreed that was a thing that happened, and it is now fucking year one. And we have gone for that for 2026 years. Now you can believe whatever you want to believe. But something happened 2026 years ago that compelled all of humanity to fucking agree that this is significant. This is actually something that matters and is a big fucking deal that this happened. So it wasn't even at the time. Obviously, it probably was debated. It was always debated that, as Jesus was roaming the earth still, and with his teachings and all his things that he did, were always spread throughout the world and questioned and doubted, or some believed and some didn't, as they do today. But something happened, as in his resurrection, that we started a whole new calendar for all of humanity because something so significant had taken place. Again, all right, that was my introduction to it logically actually making sense. And then I dove deeper into, not only the Bible and what it says in the Bible, but other things. What do some of the most highest ranking Catholics or Christians, how do they talk? What do they say? What are they doing? What are they, what's the story for this whole thing, right? And honestly, after a while, I came to the conclusion, it's like, I really do think that in some ways, Christians are some of the best people. Now, I'm saying true Christians, not like, again, this is judgmental, and I know, but there's some Christians that are very, it feels like an old Christian. I feel like there's a type of Christian, like a modern Christian, where you could be a little more open, like we don't, just changing some of the ideologies. And of course, that's not good for religious reasons and for most people who believe in Christianity. They don't want you to be changing shit. But I feel like, honestly, true Christianity and true belief, true faith, true anything like that comes from your heart, right? Like, you could read the Bible every day, go to church every Sunday, pray every night, every morning, all that, and still be a piece of shit. So, it really comes down to who you actually are, how you actually treat people, how you actually carry yourself. and all that kind of stuff. You know, like there's the Christians that will lay their hand on the Bible and say they swear to God and then go lie, cheat, steal, all that shit. And so it doesn't really matter, right? You could say, you could look like a Christian. You could say you have faith, but actually walking in that are two very fucking different things, right? And I feel like there's a lot of people, and that's what fucks up the faith and the belief and the whole thing, because people outside faith, people who don't believe yet, or just, you know, they're not in that world yet, they look at those kind of people and go, oh, see? That's why Christianity sucks. That's why it's a fucking cult. That's why it's fucking crazy. That's why it's like, those are the people that fucking ruin it, because you're not actually living in faith and feel it in your heart. Does Jesus want you to hate gay people? I don't think so. Now, I think biologically, and when it comes down to like reproduction of humanity, and then if every guy turned gay tomorrow, our species would literally die because we wouldn't be making more babies. Now, that's a whole different argument. But again, I think old Christianity kind of comes from that mindset, right? It kind of comes from the mindset of like, hey, we need to do things the right way so that we can keep going as a species, and that we could be doing things as we should. You know, and of course, everyone sins. Everybody, see, that is the thing about Christianity, is everybody's a sinner and nobody is really worthy of heaven. Nobody's really worthy of anything. But through God's good grace, do we still receive that? And for those that move in faith and walk in faith and actually genuinely do that with your heart, and you don't just say that, you don't just try to make it appear like that. Deep in your heart of hearts, that is what you do and that is what you believe. I feel like those people ultimately are the ones that are tested the most by God, but blessed the most by God. Because, I mean, that's another thing that people don't understand about Christianity, is like when you go through that journey, and if you really do, you know, try to talk to God and be like, I want to undergo this. I want to learn. I want to see what it's all about. He will test you. It's not... That doesn't mean that your life gets easier. If anything, it means your life gets harder. Because God wants to test you. He wants to test what kind of person you are when you're exhausted, what kind of person you are here, what kind of person you are there. Not just this blank statement of like, I'm such a good person because I'm a Pisces, or because I'm a... Like, that doesn't mean anything. Like, yes, there are some truth to those things. And yes, there's an argument to be made of why. Why is there some truth? Why are there weird coincidences of like, I'm a Libra. Like, why are all Libras so bad at making decisions? Am I bad at making decisions? Fuck yeah, I'm bad at making decisions. Why do those coincidences exist? I don't know. I don't, as a fucking individual person on this earth, to have that fucking answer. But I feel like at the end of the day, I feel like that all just comes from God. I think maybe astrology and everything like that is the study of something, but just without the intent that we're looking at it as God's creation. And that we're looking at it as like its own thing and its own, you know, like the universe is its own thing. But then, you know, Christians take it that to where it's just, that's God. You know, God made the universe. God has made this system for us. You know, and I even watched Constantine the other night, the movie with Keanu Reeves. I saw it for the first time. Phenomenal movie. It was a good movie. I liked it. Like how they even had a premise in there that even made me think. And I was like, oh, wow. Like, I've never thought about it. They said God is a child with an anthill. He doesn't actually, you know, move you along. And of course, that was like the anti-God mindset. Like that wasn't like a Christian mindset. That wasn't a... And that was bad. That was to say that God doesn't have that much power. But he does. But I think that the whole, like, anthill premise is a good thing to kind of wrap your head around of, like, that is kind of is. You know, God has made this thing... And it all kind of works. Like, it's a system. And it all kind of intertwines and moves itself. And the gears go on its own. And yes, and I think as that happens, as the, I think that it was made as a systematic thing. And yeah, I think for the most part that God does kind of look at it maybe as a kid with an ant farm, not an ant hill. Ant farm. With an ant farm. God is a kid with an ant farm. It was, a pretty decent premise. Again, anti-God, but I think it just to give you an image of okay, God is in control of things, but also things move naturally as well. Of course, there are some Christians that think every blade of grass moves with the wind because God said so. I don't go that far. Again, it's all up to different beliefs and different things and different such, but I feel like God made a system, right? And now he can manipulate that system and change that and do what he pleases, but I feel like he has made a system and has kept it and has sent it to us. And we live it. And, I feel like, if anyone wants to question what life is, maybe life is just one big fucking test. One big fucking test that, everyone has their own test that they're doing. That's why everyone says, everyone has their own journey. Everyone has their own experiences. It's because everyone has their own test. Everyone has their own test that God has created for you to be like, hey, is your soul pure? Do you have a pure soul, or do you have a soul that can go to darkness, it can turn to darkness, and it sees the light and it doesn't want it, and it fucking refuses? It's a test. Everything's a test. Everything, if you want to see it as that, is a test. It's a test to see your willingness to do good or bad, or your willingness to learn and grow, or your willingness to not. And I think all those things really just boils down to, it's just, everyone always questions why and what and where, and I feel like you get a lot of those answers, through faith and belief, but not only that, but just truly, it's hard to explain because it's not like you don't go to church, you don't just sit there and just read the Bible all the time. It's more of just it's like a soul understanding of what is, and of course, it's harder for some or easier for some or whatever, but I really do believe, and again, this is why I am faithful. These are the things that I've gone through and thought about, for years now. And I feel like for me, God and the resurrection of Jesus and everything like that, it makes sense. Why, if God exists, why would he not come down in human form? Why would he not? Why? He can do whatever he wants to do. Why would he not? Again, there's so many things, there's so many things. Again, I can fucking ramble forever. I'm trying to keep it a little more condensed, but I can ramble on any topic forever, especially this. But I'm trying to condense it as much as possible with still conveying the message that I'm trying to get across. But really, I am faithful through many steps of my journey of life and understanding and learning that, and not only even learning but feeling, I'm feeling that it's real. Well, like that, you can legitimately talk to God in your mind and actually get answers. And as much as you sound like a fucking crazy person to most people, I feel like after a while, with enough actual genuine faith in your heart, I feel like you kind of can. I feel like on many occasions, I don't know if they'll put me in a fucking padded room for saying this, but I feel like there are many occasions I've asked myself, or having those talks with yourself, having those frustrated moments of just like, why this and why that, and just mad and upset about things. And I feel like I have heard. I feel like it feels like it's me, but I know it's not me, because if I already fucking knew that, I wouldn't have already had that problem. And I feel like when I have those moments, there's like another part of me that just fucking knows. There's another part of me that just fucking knows better. And it almost like the stronger you get in your faith, the louder that voice gets. Right? Because it's, and then, for some people, if you want to believe, it's that angel and devil on your shoulder, right? And whichever one you listen to, whichever one you give more power to, will be the one that grows. As they say, I think it was like the Native American saying, is like, the wolf inside of you feed the most will grow the strongest, or whatever the fuck. So, I mean, it's like, if you want to feed your anger and hatred, it'll grow the strongest, and you will be the most hateful and angry motherfucker ever. If you want to grow your love and compassion, you want to feed your love and compassion, that will grow the strongest. So I feel like, it kind of comes down to the same thing with faith. Do you want to listen to that little devil on your shoulder, or do you want to listen to that little angel? And I think the more you do read the Bible and do go towards God, because I feel like, even if you don't believe, I feel like the scriptures and the passages and all those kind of things, I think they do have power. I feel like and again, that's another thing that I feel like in my bones. I feel that those things really do have power. You could say those scriptures and those things and really feel something. Again, after what? Maybe you're not going to open the fucking Bible and go, ooh, wow, maybe, by God's good graces, but I don't think so. I think that's something that you have to, for one, be open to it, right? If your heart is closed to the possibility and to the idea and to all those things, you're never gonna be able to believe. It's not. That is. Some would think that's the devil. Some would think that is just, you're lost. I'm not sure. I'm torn on that one, but, it's complicated. It's a very complicated subject. Again, I could talk for hours, but I'm trying to try to keep it a little shorter, so we will end it here, or at least try. But that is why I'm faithful. And again, maybe I'm fucking a little autistic or something. I can't really even keep a fucking thought straight. But if you did fucking listen this far, I hope you kind of understand a little more, or not, or something. I don't know. And maybe something I said made you think, and then you'll go on to do some more thinking. I don't know. Who knows? And that's also why I'm where I am now with faith and belief. Is just, everything does happen for a reason. And I feel like that truly is God. I feel like God teaches us through hardship. God gives us blessings. God, all of that. And I feel like once you view it as that, I feel like you could take those so much better. And really ask yourself, like, maybe I was doing something bad and I deserve it. Because I believe karma is just God. I still even call it karma sometimes. But it's God. Like, that's just like, oh, hey, you tripped that old lady or something, and then you walk down the fucking street, and you get fucked up or something. Yeah, karma, whatever, energies, whatever you want to believe, but I believe that's God. That is the kid with an ant farm going, no. You're not getting away with that. That's why the people that do the worst shit, the people that do the worst shit are always in the worst positions. The people who always do good things are not always in good positions, but will always receive good things for the bad positions that they've been put in. Bad people just get bad positions and then bad shit on top of that. There's no balance for shitty people. And I feel like sometimes you can kind of even look at your own life that way. Like, if there's no balance, it feels like there's no balance, and it feels like it's nothing but bad, and it sucks all the time. Maybe it's you. Maybe it's because you fucking suck, and God's giving you exactly what the fuck you put out. Just a thought. Right, I will leave it there. I know, I could just fucking ramble on forever out here. I'll go forever and not give a fuck about ever stopping. But keep it short. There's a lot that goes into that, but I feel like at the end of the day, if you're interested in the journey of faith or anything like that, feel like the best place to start genuinely is open that Bible up. You know, and there's some things online where you could even search for, like, you know, I saw there's a comic book version of the Bible. You know, maybe you don't want to fucking read script, or you don't like reading, or you want pictures. There's a comic book version of the Bible. Now, I've always been interested to read that, just to really, like, you know, see the stories of the Bible and everything that happens and everything in pictures. You know, so if you want to dip your toe into that, you know, maybe look into buying that or finding that online. You don't even have to buy it. I don't know. I feel like, you know, it's, as to who I am now, I feel like everybody should give it a shot. You know, everybody should, you know, as much as you were maybe raised by Christians and you hate them and you don't want to be like them, so you don't want to be a Christian. It's like, forget all that, right? Open your heart, let your guard down, and really see what you feel, right? And again, maybe you don't feel anything, but I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will. You know, and for those who already are kind of spiritual, or at least on some sort of a spiritual journey, all it really takes is a switch. All it really takes is a switch of what you believe and how you see things, right? I mean, everything could be the same. You could be the same person, but just change the lenses that you're wearing. And everything will be totally different. Alright. I said I was going to fucking leave it like fucking 4 times. We'll be going. Appreciate you for watching. If you did watch this far, I will be trying to condense these lower. I know I said we're going to do less than 30 minutes. We're back to fucking 30 minutes. I can't help it, man. It's fucking, I mean, I don't know. I refuse to write like bullet notes for this shit so I can really condense down these fucking thoughts. But, you know, that's what I want. I want it to be this free-flowing, like, hey, I'm going to have an amount of time. We're going to ramble for that amount of time. And we're going to get the fuck out. And if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. And that's just life, son. But I do appreciate you very much. If you have watched this far, you're fucking fantastic. Because now everyone wants to probably hear me fucking ramble about nothing. Well, not about nothing this time, but usually about nothing. And we will do some more episodes about more faith and more topics of faith and stuff. I want to do that kind of stuff to maybe, you know, push some people towards it. Because I feel like as a content creator nowadays, you see all sorts of bad people, man. I mean, that's just how it is. You know, you go outside, you see some bad people here and there. Some people are assholes. As a content creator for the past 2 years, I can tell you that the world needs Jesus more than ever. I mean, the world needs God more than ever, son. And that is an absolute fact. And that's what I will leave you with. Have a blessed day, and I will see y'all on the next one. Peace!